Here I've got my Wwise session right in front of me with this Skateboarding Sim session, I guess. It's a prototype, it's all in theory, there's no game to work on right now, but I thought I'd just map out some thoughts and ideas that I had for this. So, to start, the idea very quickly is that each part of the skateboard will have a condition, quality degradation condition, so ranging from 0% to 100%, and depending on what percentage each element is, you'll get a different sounding skateboard. Sound is quite a vital part to skateboarding. It helps you feel good, which helps you skate good. Long story short. So, as you can see, I've got my bearings, deck, trucks, wheels as my 4 main points just now. And I'll quickly just go through a couple of these just to show you how I've used Wwise to map out my thoughts and ideas. Alright, so first of all, I'm going to hop into the bearings section here. So if we drop this down, I have a couple of different sets of sounds just so far. What I'm going to focus on is the bearing hiss. So when the conditions of your bearings found in your wheels, they get lower and lower and lower, they can emit this hiss that sounds quite dirty, and usually because of rocks and gravel and tiny pieces of dirt getting in there. And you'll hear that. So these are just 4 takes of the same thing. You're all in a random container just to choose whichever one at any point when this comes into play. What I really want to show here though is what I've done with the parameters. So the real-time parameters here. I have 2 set up on this. I have a pitch based on the velocity, so the speed of the player, just to help give a little bit of difference and help the intensity when that player is moving fast. And I have the volume. Now, what I've done with the volume in this case, which may be a little bit unusual, would be that I only really have this kicking in once the condition gets so low. It's there when the condition is high and the bearings are in an okay condition, but it's really once it comes under 50%, you start to hear that and it'll start niggling the player. So just with that in mind, let's play that. So your velocity will just affect your pitch. Now this is all just in theory, so you might get some artifact and not sounding perfect. But when we get slower, you're coming right down here. Is it full volume? But say we're just going to fairly reasonable pace, conditions better, super quiet. Typically, new bearings, they don't make a lot of sound. And that's the bearings first of all. Okay, so for this part, we're going to hop into the deck part of the project. Now, we've split quite a few things out here. And it's not that I've got a great plan for all of them, it's just some ideas. So we just open this up. Shoot effects. You can see which one we're going to already is our popping one. But we've got grip tape here, which grip tape will wear the more you use it over time. Maybe we can convey that in sound. Landing and popping are separate. Unfortunately, with skateboarding, just because you've popped the trick does not mean you're going to land it. It's part of the whole process, unfortunately. Rattle and wobble. Sometimes your deck or your trucks rattle when you pick up high speeds, depending on how loose or tight they are. Another mechanic which can be explored, by the way. So I thought it'd be fun to have that in there. Finally, spin and scoop. With certain flip tricks, if you're scooping, it's often that the board is spinning sideways, not in the same way that a kickflip or a heel flip would, but rotationally sideways like a pop shove it, or a 360 flip. I'm unsure how to explain that fully, but you get the scooping sound rather than the strict upward trajectory that you get from a pop. So, we're looking at pop just now, and just really keeping it simple, looking at some states. So we've got our random container, which just randomizes everything within it, so we're not getting that repetitive sound digging into the player's ear. We are looking at the states I've created here. So, in skateboarding games, you do get stances, which is standard and switch. That is defined by, it's a similar thing with snowboarding, defined by which leg you like to lead with. So you have a stronger leg, typically, in skateboarding, the one that you like to lead with. When you are standing the other way, between goofy and regular, you're in switch. And it's basically the leg version of using your other hand to write. So it's not as strong a lot of the time, and it feels a bit funky, and it's kind of like you're learning, again, how to skate. So switch, standard, yeah. Now, alongside that, you can have board position as well. Skateboards, the nose and tails are different sizes a lot of the time. I think it's actually most of the time. You do get ones where it's the same on each side. I think that's becoming more popular in recent years. But anyway, different sizes. So often the nose will have less of it'd be less steep, the nose, typically speaking. So you kind of get a different feel when you use the nose. And it's often because you use the tail a lot more, it kind of feels funny as well, depending on the situation. So if we could convey that in sound, I thought that'd be pretty cool. So we've got our board position, our nose and our tail, and we've got our stance, standard and switch. Now, as you can see, I've kept the changes super simple in this case. I think I've said it in a previous clip. this is just a proof of concept. I've not got a game to attach it to. I can't hear specifically how this plays, but in game, I mean, I can hear how it plays via Wwise here. So let's just take a little look. So let's just put this to standard. So you're on your tail and you're in standard stance, and we're going to hear that as you'd expect. If we go to nose and switch, the most severe, I guess, of what could happen here, you can hear that, but it's not ridiculously severe that it's completely stretching out the sound either. So it's just a test. It's a fun idea. I've never really seen any games focus on board position before like that to any degree. So yeah, that was the idea behind that one. Okay, so where we're going to go here is into the wheels part of the project, which is where I've put the rolling sound. So whether you're on wood, concrete, and maybe metal, some ramps are as well, that's where you're going to hear these switches going on. So we'll take a quick look at that, and we've got another bit or two to look at as well in here. So when I open this up, a few things are going to expand. Don't worry about it too much. All in all, it's small, but when you build it from the ground up, it does seem quite a lot. So in here, what I've got, let's just start from the bottom here. We have a couple of random containers. So we've got our slow and fast rolling. This is how I've chosen to split it in this case. I'll get a touch more into that in a little bit, and a few sound clips per in here, and actually some of them are repeated for the sake of this project, just to show off the proof. And each of those random containers are within a blend container. So we'll look at the wood blend container, and it's shown up here already. I've got it connected to a parameter that I've named player velocity. So player speeds varies quite wildly when you're skateboarding, so that's quite a vital thing to have. So what I've done here, I've got a really wide crossover between the two and a little bit of an indifference when there's only one playing. So when player velocity is at its highest, you're only getting the fastest of the sounds. And when that comes right down, I've got it down to roughly 75, you start to hear the slow sound taking in just a little bit, and it'll get gradually swap over until we get all the way down to the bottom 10. There, we'll only hear the slow sound. Now, there are a couple of ways you could chop this up, and arguably you could have another sort of medium pace in the middle of these two, or maybe even 4 altogether, but I've just kept it for 2 for the sake of this just now. So, if we play this, we should hear that coming through, and let's just go down here. So as velocity decreases, we blend into our slower one. Hear that one is. Cool. That was the thinking behind that. And as I say, you could add more in, you can switch up some more, but that's what we're rolling with just now. The instance above it here is just the same again, but for concrete. I've actually not touched that one up a touch, so let's just move on. Now, each of those, so the concrete and the wood blend, are within another switch container, which is going to tell the project, I'm skating on this surface, thus I need this particular set of sounds. So there's a bit of a hierarchy going on. That's when things start to get a little more complex and fun, actually. I know this project is small, it's quite easy to get a grasp of, but it's been good fun understanding that, especially from my background. So yeah, that's what we've got for the wheels so far. Finally, just as a quick summary to round this up, there are many things that could go wrong or right, or it can be included further with this. This was just an early mock-up, just as an idea I had in my head, just to get used to Wwise some more. And there are other things that can apply globally to all of the effects, so such as your levels, you're randomizing the pitch on each play, your low-pass filter is just here, so on and so forth. There's quite a lot that can be done yet with that, past even the quality degradation system as well. These were just some fun ideas I put together, and mixing and matching would come into play, but as an early prototype, I'm pretty happy with this. And yeah, thanks for listening.